My first vegetable garden was a disaster. I planted tomatoes in heavy clay. I watered them every single day with a light sprinkle. I did not mulch. I did not prune. By August, my plants were yellow, spindly, and produced exactly 4 tomatoes. 4. I spent the entire winter reading everything I could get my hands on. The next spring, I tried again. That summer, I harvested over 200 pounds of vegetables from the same small backyard plot. Same space, same climate, completely different result. The difference was 10 simple changes that cost almost nothing and took almost no extra time. If you have ever looked at your garden in July and felt that sinking feeling that things are not going the way you hoped, you already know the frustration. The good news is that most garden problems have simple fixes. Welcome to Grow Simple. Today, I'm walking you through those exact 10 tips. Hit subscribe, and every week you'll get another reason to dig in, grow more, and spend less. Let us get into it. Tip number 1. Start with the soil, not the plants. The most successful vegetable gardens begin underground. Before you buy a single seed or transplant, prepare your soil. Add several inches of organic compost and work it into the top 6 to 8 inches of your beds. Compost feeds the roots, improves drainage, and wakes up the billions of beneficial microbes that deliver nutrients to your plants. If your soil is heavy clay or pure sand, compost fixes both. It loosens clay so roots can breathe. It helps sand hold moisture so roots do not dry out. This is the foundation that every other tip in this video builds on. Skip this step and you will spend the entire season fighting an uphill battle. Get it right and your plants will practically grow themselves. I have seen gardeners spend hundreds of dollars on plants and then plant them in soil that hasn't been touched in years. The plants struggle, they turn yellow, they produce a few sad tomatoes. Then the gardener blames themselves when the real problem was 6 inches beneath their feet all along. A simple soil test from your local extension office costs less than $20 and tells you exactly what your soil needs. It's the best money you will spend all season. If your soil is compacted and hard, a broad fork or garden fork can loosen it without destroying the soil structure the way tilling does. Add compost every single year, even if your soil is already good. Soil is not a static thing, it's alive. It needs to be fed. When you feed the soil feeds everything else. That's the whole game right there. Tip number 2, choose the best location you have. Vegetables demand sunlight, at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sun every single day. A south-facing spot in your backyard is ideal. Watch your space for a full day before you commit. Notice where shadows fall. That corner that gets morning sun but afternoon shade will not support tomatoes or peppers. Leafy greens like lettuce and spinach can handle a bit less, but fruiting vegetables need full exposure. Good air circulation matters too. A spot with a gentle breeze helps prevent fungal diseases that thrive in stagnant, humid conditions. If you're working with raised beds or containers, you have the advantage of mobility. Place them where the sun is best and move them as the season changes. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my first garden was putting it too close to a large maple tree. The tree leafed out in late spring and cast my entire garden in shade by 2 in the afternoon. My tomatoes never stood a chance. The next year, I moved everything to the other side of the yard, and the difference was night and day. If you only have one sunny spot on your property, put your garden there. Forget the lawn, forget the ornamental shrubs. Food comes first. Sunlight is free fuel for your plants. Every hour of direct sun is another hour of photosynthesis, another hour of growth, another tomato on the vine. Do not compromise on this. A garden in partial shade will always struggle, no matter how much love you give it. Tip number 3, water deeply, not frequently. The most common mistake beginner gardeners make is watering a little bit every day. Shallow watering creates shallow roots. When the top inch of soil dries out, the plant has no access to moisture deeper down. Instead, water deeply and less often. Soak the soil until moisture penetrates 6 to 8 inches. Then let the top inch dry out before watering again. This encourages roots to grow downward where the soil stays cooler and moisture is more consistent. Deep roots make stronger plants that can handle the heat of summer without wilting. Water at the base of the plant, not over the leaves. Wet foliage invites fungal problems.
A simple drip irrigation system or a soaker hose makes this easy and saves you time. I used to stand in my garden every evening with a hose, spraying everything for about 30 seconds and calling it done. My plants were stunted and my water bill was high. When I finally switched to deep watering twice a week, everything changed. The plants grew faster, the roots went deeper, the soil stayed moist for days instead of hours. If you're not sure how deep the water is penetrating, stick your finger into the soil after watering. If it's only wet for the first inch, you need to water longer. A good long soak is always better than a daily sprinkle. Your plants will tell you when they're thirsty. Slight wilting in the afternoon is normal. Wilting in the morning means they need water now. Tip number 4, mulch everything. A thick layer of organic mulch is one of the easiest gardening hacks you will ever use. Spread 2 to 3 inches of straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, or wood chips around your plants. Mulch retains moisture in the soil, so you water less often. It suppresses weeds, so you spend less time pulling them. It regulates soil temperature, keeping roots cool during summer heat waves. And as it slowly breaks down, it feeds the soil, adding organic matter without you lifting a finger. Apply mulch in late spring after the soil has warmed up. Keep it pulled back an inch or two from the stems of your plants to prevent rot. This one simple habit will save you hours of work and gallons of water. I know mulching feels like an extra step. You're already tired from planting, you just want to be done. But those 10 minutes you spend spreading mulch now will save you hours of weeding and watering later. It's one of the few gardening tasks that genuinely pays you back with interest. Straw is my favorite mulch for vegetable beds. It's clean, it's light, and it breaks down into beautiful soil by the end of the season. If you use grass clippings, make sure they come from a lawn that hasn't been treated with herbicides. Those chemicals can linger and damage your vegetables. A mulched garden looks tidy, feels cool underfoot, and holds moisture like a sponge. Once you start mulching, you'll never go back. Tip number 5, plant in succession for a continuous harvest. Don't plant everything at once. If you sow all your lettuce seeds on the same day in spring, you'll have 40 heads of lettuce ready at the same time and then nothing for the rest of the season. Instead, stagger your plantings. Sow a small row of lettuce, spinach, or beans every 2 to 3 weeks. When the first planting is ready to harvest, the next one is just a few weeks behind. This is called succession planting, and it's the secret to a garden that feeds you steadily from early spring through late fall. It works for almost every vegetable, except long-season crops like tomatoes and peppers that need the whole summer to mature. I keep a simple calendar on my phone. Every 2 weeks, a reminder pops up that says, plant more lettuce. It takes 5 minutes. I scratch a small row into the soil, drop in the seeds, cover them, and water. That 5 minutes means I have fresh salad greens from April through November instead of a 2-week glut followed by nothing. You can succession plant carrots, beets, radishes, bush beans, cilantro, dill, and almost any quick-growing crop. The key is knowing how long each crop takes to mature and timing the next planting accordingly. This is one of those tips that separates a garden that feeds you occasionally from a garden that feeds you every single day.
Tip number 6. Use Epsom salt for tomatoes and peppers. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium is the central atom in chlorophyll, the molecule that drives photosynthesis. Without enough magnesium, your plants cannot produce the energy they need to set fruit. A soil deficient in magnesium produces tomatoes and peppers that are pale, stunted, and slow to produce. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of water and use it as a soil drench or foliar spray once a month during the growing season. Your plants will green up and set fruit more heavily. This is an easy, organic fix that costs pennies and makes a visible difference. Just do not overuse it. Once a month is plenty. I keep a bag of Epsom salt in my garden shed and mix up a fresh batch at the start of each month. It takes about 2 minutes. I pour it around the base of each tomato and pepper plant, and within a week, the leaves are visibly greener. It is especially helpful if your soil is naturally low in magnesium, which many soils are. You can also use it on roses, potatoes, and houseplants. A single bag from the drugstore costs a few dollars and lasts an entire season. If your tomatoes have ever developed blossom end rot, that black sunken patch at the bottom of the fruit, Epsom salt can help by improving calcium uptake. It's not a cure-all, but it is a reliable, time-tested supplement that generations of gardeners have sworn by. Tip number 7. Prune tomato suckers. If you grow indeterminate tomatoes, the kind that keep growing and producing all season, pruning is not optional, it is essential.
Between the main stem and each branch, small shoots called suckers will appear. If you leave them, each sucker grows into a full-sized branch with its own leaves and fruit. That sounds productive, but it creates a dense, tangled plant with poor airflow. The interior stays humid and dark, and fungal diseases take hold. Pinch off suckers when they are small, under 2 inches. A quick snap with your fingers is all it takes. The plant directs more energy into fruit production instead of foliage. Your harvest will be larger, and your plants will stay healthier. I walk my tomato rows every few days during June and July checking for suckers. It takes 5 minutes. I snap them off and drop them on the ground. By August, my plants are tall and open with good airflow through the center. I can see the fruit ripening from across the garden. If you skip pruning, your tomato plants will still produce, but they will produce less and they will be more vulnerable to blight and leaf spot. Determinate tomatoes, the bush types that grow to a fixed size and stop, do not need pruning. Only prune indeterminate varieties. If you're not sure which type you have, check the seed packet or the plant tag. It will say determinate or indeterminate right on the label. Tip number 8. Plant flowers among your vegetables. This is not just for beauty, it's a practical, proven strategy called companion planting. Marigolds repel nematodes and whiteflies. Nasturtiums trap aphids, drawing them away from your vegetables. Calendula attracts pollinators like bees and hoverflies that increase fruit set in your tomatoes, peppers, and squash. Plant flowers in the corners of your raised beds, along the edges of your garden, or tucked between your vegetables. They add color, support beneficial insects, and make your garden healthier without a single chemical spray. This is an easy, beautiful gardening tip that works with nature instead of against it. I plant marigolds around the perimeter of every tomato bed. They're cheap, easy to grow from seed, and they bloom all summer long. The bright orange and yellow flowers look beautiful against the green foliage. More importantly, I see fewer aphids and whiteflies on plants that have marigolds nearby. Nasturtiums are another favorite. They sprawl across the ground, covering the soil like a living mulch. Aphids love them, which sounds bad, but it's actually good. The aphids go to the nasturtiums and leave my vegetables alone. The flowers act as a trap crop, sacrificing themselves so my tomatoes and peppers can thrive. That's companion planting in action. Tip number 9. Harvest at the right time of day. The time you pick your vegetables affects how they taste and how long they last. Early morning is the best time to harvest almost everything. Vegetables are crispest and fullest of moisture after a cool night. Leafy greens picked in the morning stay fresh in the refrigerator for days longer than greens picked in the afternoon heat. Tomatoes and peppers taste sweetest when harvested at peak ripeness, not overripe. Check your garden every morning during peak season. Zucchini can grow from a finger-sized fruit to a baseball bat in 2 days. Regular harvesting also signals the plant to keep producing. The more you pick, the more you get. I keep a pair of scissors and a basket by the back door. Every morning before work, I walk through the garden and harvest whatever is ready. It takes 10 minutes. I fill the basket with greens, beans, and whatever else is ripe. By the time I get home in the evening, everything is cleaned, stored, and ready to eat. That morning harvest ritual is one of my favorite parts of the day. The garden is quiet, the light is soft, the vegetables are cool and crisp. It's a peaceful way to start the morning, and it ensures nothing goes to waste. If you can only harvest in the evening, that's fine. Your vegetables will still taste good, but if you can manage mornings, your greens will last noticeably longer in the fridge. Tip number 10. Rotate your crops every year. Never plant the same vegetable family in the same spot 2 years in a row. Tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and potatoes are all in the nightshade family. They share the same diseases and deplete the same nutrients. If you plant them in the same soil year after year, pathogens build up and yields drop. A simple rotation guide is to follow heavy feeders like tomatoes with light feeders like beans, then follow beans with leafy greens. Even in a small backyard garden, shifting your crops just a few feet each season makes a measurable difference. This is one of the oldest and most reliable gardening tips in the book. I draw a simple map of my garden every winter. I label where everything was planted the previous year, then I plan the new season, making sure nothing goes back in the same spot. It takes 15 minutes and saves me from soil-borne diseases that can wipe out an entire crop. If you only have one small bed, you can still rotate by using containers for a season or swapping crops with a neighbor. The key is breaking the cycle. Disease spores and pest eggs overwinter in the soil, waiting for the same host plant to return. When you move your tomatoes to a new spot, those spores have nothing to feed on and they die off. Rotation is free crop insurance. Use it. There you have it. 10 tips you can put to work in your garden this week. You know, I drove past that first garden a few years ago, the one where I grew exactly 4 tomatoes. Someone else lives there now, and they've turned the whole backyard into raised beds. I could see tomato cages from the street, the big, sturdy kind. I hope they're hauling in buckets of fruit every summer. That little patch of ground deserved better than what I gave it that first year, and whoever's tending it now is probably giving it exactly what it needs. That's the thing about gardening. The soil doesn't hold a grudge. It doesn't remember the year you ignored it or the year you made every mistake in the book. It just waits for you to figure things out and try again. Every season is a fresh start, and that's a rare kind of generosity. I would love to know what you're growing this year and what you're doing differently than last season. Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and they remind me that every gardener is somewhere on the same path. If you want more gardening wisdom that keeps things simple and your harvests big, subscribe to Grow Simple. Now, go get your hands dirty. The best season you've ever had is still ahead of you.